She said it so casually, like it was nothing. You'll never be him, Noah. It wasn't shouted, it wasn't emotional. It was said with that flat kind of honesty people use when they've already made peace with disrespecting you. She didn't even look up from her phone when she said it. I was standing by the kitchen counter, coffee still steaming in my hand, and for a second I thought I'd misheard. But she looked up then, and her face told me I hadn't. Her name's Claire. We'd been married 4 years at that point. And for most of those years, her ex, Evan, lived rent-free in our home. Not physically, but in her words, her tone, her comparisons. Evan used to fix things around the house himself. Evan would have remembered my anniversary. Evan always knew how to make me feel special. At first, I brushed it off. I figured maybe she was just nostalgic, trying to make sense of what she left behind. Everyone has ghosts from their past. I told myself that if I was patient, I could outlive his memory. I was wrong. It started to eat at me, not because I envied the man, but because it felt like I was being punished for not being him. I didn't marry Claire to compete with her past. I married her to build a future. But somehow, our life together had turned into a never-ending performance, and I was the understudy in a play she'd already seen 1,000 times. One evening, we were getting ready for a dinner with her friends, people she used to know back when she was dating him. I was tying my tie in the mirror when she said, "You don't have to try so hard, babe. Just be yourself. They already know you're not like Evan." I smiled faintly in the reflection, not trusting my voice enough to answer. Not like Evan. Yeah, that was the point, wasn't it? The dinner was brutal. Every story her friends told somehow circled back to him. His old jokes, his business trips, his effortless charm. I watched Claire laugh, that kind of laugh that comes from muscle memory, not joy. She wasn't living in the moment. She was reliving one. When we got home, I went to the study and sat in the dark for a while. It wasn't sadness that sat in my chest. It was clarity. I realized something that night. People don't just compare you to their ex because they miss them. They do it because they're not done measuring their own worth through that person. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't yell or demand an apology. I just watched. I started noticing things. Her new perfume that she never wore before. The way her phone always faced down. How she smiled when a certain message came in but turned cold when she saw me notice. That's when I knew the comparisons weren't just emotional. There was something more. Still, I played the part. Calm, indifferent, collected. I cooked, worked, and kept the house running. But I started pulling back in ways she didn't notice, little things. My bank accounts. My business connections. My plans. I'd been managing a small logistics company. But what she didn't know was that a new merger was coming. One that would put me in a senior seat, with people she used to admire. And guess who was part of that company's acquisition list? Evan. He didn't know it yet, and neither did she. That night, as Claire fell asleep beside me, I stared at the ceiling and whispered, "You'll get your wish, Claire. You'll have Evan back in your life." But I smiled in the dark, because I already knew how it would end. 3 weeks after that dinner, she stopped wearing her wedding ring. No argument led to it, no emotional speech. It just disappeared one morning, replaced by silence and distance. I noticed, of course, but I didn't ask. When someone wants to leave, all you need to do is step out of their way. Our mornings became businesslike, two people sharing a roof, but not a life. She'd make her coffee, scroll through her phone, hum to a song only she could hear. I'd read the paper or pretend to. I'd stopped waiting for her to speak first. Then came the night she didn't come home. Around 11, I texted her, "You safe?" She replied half an hour later, at Mia's. Too tired to drive back. Don't wait up. Mia was her coworker. I'd met her twice. Enough to know that Mia didn't live anywhere near the restaurant where Claire said she was having just dinner. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed, then put the phone face down. That was the night I stopped trying to fix what she had already buried. 2 weeks later, she called me into the living room. She was standing there with a packed suitcase, one of mine, ironically. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "Noah, I think we need a break." I nodded once. "For how long?" She hesitated. "I don't know. I can't do this version of us anymore." There was a pause before she added, almost as an afterthought, "You'll find someone better. Someone who doesn't compare you to your past." The irony nearly made me laugh. I didn't argue, didn't ask who she was really leaving for. I just helped her carry the suitcase to the car. It was cold that night, the kind of cold that bites through your coat. She stood by the door, waiting for me to say something that would make her feel less guilty. I didn't. I simply said, "Drive safe." She left, and the house went quiet. That night, I walked through every room and turned off each light slowly, one by one. Not out of sadness, out of habit. You don't realize how much of yourself you give away until you're standing in an empty house realizing you've been living like a guest in your own life. Over the next few weeks, I buried myself in work. The merger was moving fast. My company had been acquired by a mid-sized logistics corporation based in Chicago. They were restructuring, expanding leadership. I'd been offered a regional director position, higher pay, more responsibility, a clean slate. On the day I signed the final paperwork, the HR director handed me a list of personnel from the merged teams. My eyes scanned the page until I saw it again. Evan Cooper, Senior Operations Manager, Midwest Division. I leaned back in my chair, a slow, quiet smile forming. Claire had left me to chase a memory. Soon enough, that memory would report directly to me. And when that day came, I wasn't planning to humiliate anyone. I didn't need to. I just wanted to watch reality correct itself, silently, precisely, the way truth always does. The first time I saw Evan in person again, it was inside the glass-walled conference room of our new Chicago office. He was standing by the projector, sleeves rolled up, talking through a logistics timeline. Confident posture, charming smile, the kind of guy who believed the world owed him attention. And everyone gave it. The younger employees watched him like he was the future. I watched him like he was an unfinished story. When he finished his presentation, the room filled with polite applause. I let it die down before stepping forward. "Good work, Evan," I said evenly. "You'll be reporting directly to me from now on. Let's make sure we keep these projections tight. Accuracy matters more than flash." His expression shifted slightly, just enough for me to see it register. He blinked, then forced a quick smile. "Of course, sir. Looking forward to working together." He called me sir. That was new. After the meeting, a few of the team stayed back to talk through details, but Evan slipped out early. I watched him through the glass as he walked down the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, face tense. I didn't need to guess who he was calling. Later that evening, as I left the office, I spotted him again in the parking lot, leaning against his car. He straightened when he saw me. "Noah," he said, forcing a chuckle. "Small world, huh?" "Smaller than people think," I replied. He nodded, eyes darting away for a second. "Listen, man, I didn't know you were joining the merger. Claire never mentioned it." There it was. He said her name before I did. I smiled faintly. "I'm sure she didn't." He shifted awkwardly. "Things between us, they're complicated. I didn't plan." "I'm not interested in your plans, Evan." I cut in gently. "We're colleagues now. Let's keep it professional." He nodded, but the tension stayed. He wasn't used to losing footing. By the next week, it was clear the dynamic had changed. The same man who once filled rooms with ease now second-guessed every report he sent me. He stuttered through meetings, made basic errors, and apologized for things that didn't need apologizing. I never raised my voice. Never humiliated him. I just asked for better work. Precisely, calmly, consistently. And each time I did, his confidence cracked a little more. Then one evening, while reviewing shipment data in my office, an email popped up. The subject line read, "Claire." It was from an old address I hadn't seen in months. "Noah, can we talk? Please. I've made a mistake." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, the faint reflection of my own smile flickering across the glass. The timing couldn't have been better. She had left me for a man she claimed was better. Now, he worked for me, and she was reaching out. I didn't reply. Not yet. Some lessons, I've learned, are best delivered slowly. I didn't answer her email. Not the first one. Not the second. Not even the one that came at 3 in the morning, where she wrote, "I don't know what I was thinking. Please just talk to me." Silence does something to people. It turns confidence into panic. A week later, there was a knock at my apartment door. I didn't need to look through the peephole to know who it was. I opened it anyway. Claire stood there, thinner, tired, the kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from too much pretending. Her hair was tied back carelessly, makeup smudged just enough to show she'd cried on the way over. "Noah," she whispered. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside. 5 minutes. She hesitated, surprised by the tone. Not anger. Not softness. Just control. She walked in slowly, scanning the place like she was trying to recognize a version of me that no longer existed. It looks nice, she said, touching the edge of a framed photo on the wall, the one she wasn't in. I poured myself a drink, didn't offer her one. Say what you came to say. She took a deep breath. I made a mistake leaving. Evan's not who I thought he was. It was good at first, exciting. But then he changed. He's been distant lately, always angry, always blaming work. He says he's under pressure, that his new boss is on his case every day. I almost laughed. His new boss. She nodded quickly. Yeah, some director named Noah something. Then her voice trailed off. Her eyes found mine. The silence that followed was heavy enough to fill the room. She stepped back a little, her lips parting. It's you. I didn't deny it. I just sipped my drink. Small world. Her voice shook. Did you know? I didn't plan it, I said, setting the glass down. But when opportunity knocks, you don't hide behind the door. She swallowed hard, looking around the room like she might find a different answer written on the walls. Noah, I was wrong about everything. I compared you to him because I thought I wanted what we had. But he's not. Better than me? I finished for her. She flinched. Please don't do this. I'm just asking for a chance to make things right. I looked at her, really looked, and realized something strange. I didn't hate her anymore. The pain had burned itself out and left only clarity behind. You said once that I'd never be him, I said quietly. You were right. I'm not. I walked to the door and opened it. The gesture was calm, final. And you're not the woman I married. She stood frozen for a moment, tears filling her eyes, but I didn't move. Eventually, she nodded, wiped her face, and walked out without another word. When the door clicked shut, I exhaled slowly. The silence that followed didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. Down the hall, her footsteps faded, and for the first time in years, I felt weightless. But something told me this wasn't the end. Not yet. Evan started slipping 2 weeks after that. At first, it was subtle. Late reports, half-finished files, excuses that didn't quite add up. Then came the defensiveness. He'd talked too much in meetings, trying to prove something no one had asked him to prove. Confidence had turned into noise. I didn't have to do much. I just held him accountable. No yelling. No humiliation, just precision. These numbers are off, Evan. Fix them by morning. That shipment went to the wrong branch. Explain why. Every correction I gave him landed like a bruise. He'd nod, promise to fix it, then stumble again. The others noticed. The same employees who once admired him now looked to me for direction. Respect doesn't come from volume. It comes from control. One Friday evening, I stayed late to finish quarterly reviews. Evan knocked on my office door, looking rough, red eyes, unshaven, a jitter in his hands. Got a minute? He asked. Sure, I said, not looking up from my screen. He closed the door, took a breath. Look, man, I don't know what's going on between us, but I feel like you've got something against me. I finally met his eyes. You think accountability is personal? He rubbed his neck, nervous. No, it's just, you're harder on me than the others. Maybe the others aren't making the same mistakes. He didn't know what to say to that. His gaze drifted to the floor. Claire told me you two used to have problems, but I didn't realize. I cut him off. You should leave her out of your excuses. What happens at home stays there. This is business. He nodded slowly. Yeah, business. As he left, I could see the confusion twisting behind his eyes. He was starting to connect dots he didn't want to see. Later that night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring out, but then a message came through. Please, Noah. I just want to talk again. We can start over. I'll do anything. Claire. Her messages kept coming over the next few days. Sometimes apologetic, sometimes angry, sometimes desperate. She said Evan was different now, cold, dismissive, stressed all the time. He blamed me for everything. She wanted to meet, just once. I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. Silence was doing the work for me. At the office, Evan was unraveling faster. He missed a shipment deadline, costing the company money. I called him into my office. He stood there, shoulders tense, trying not to look broken. I'm giving you 2 weeks to clean this up, I said. After that, we'll have to make some decisions. He stared at me, eyes hollow. You enjoy this, don't you? I leaned back in my chair. No, Evan. I just remember being told I'd never measure up. Seems that wasn't about me after all. He froze. The realization hit him like a punch. I turned back to my laptop and said quietly, close the door on your way out. When it clicked shut, I knew both of them were finally starting to feel what they'd made me feel, small, replaceable, powerless. The difference was, I didn't need to raise my voice to do it. The knock came on a Sunday afternoon, soft, hesitant, like whoever was on the other side wasn't sure they wanted me to answer. When I opened the door, Claire stood there again. No makeup this time. Hair tied back. Hoodie too big for her. The kind of look that told me life had stopped being kind. I didn't know where else to go, she said quietly. I stepped aside without speaking. She walked in slowly, like she was entering a place that used to be hers, but no longer felt familiar. The silence stretched until she said, "Evan's losing it, Noah. He's drinking every night. He's paranoid. He keeps saying you're out to ruin him." I raised an eyebrow. "Am I?" She looked at me like she couldn't tell if I was joking. "You're not, right?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I poured a glass of water and slid it across the counter. She took it with both hands, staring down. "I didn't come here to talk about him," she finally said. "I came to talk about us. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I need to say it." I stayed quiet. She went on. "I was cruel to you. I compared you to someone I barely understood. I thought love was about excitement, not stability. But when I finally had what I thought I wanted, I realized I traded respect for noise." Her voice cracked on that last word. "I know it's too late," she said, "but I can't stop thinking about what I threw away." I studied her face. There was no performance left, just regret. Real, heavy regret. "Do you still see him?" I asked. She nodded weakly. "We live together, but it doesn't feel like it. He barely speaks to me. He's terrified of you." That part almost made me smile. She reached out then, lightly touching my wrist. "I just want to fix things. Maybe not go back, but—" "Stop," I said softly. "You don't get to rewrite the ending just because you don't like how it turned out." Her hand dropped. Tears welled, but I didn't move. "I'm not angry anymore, Claire," I said. "But I'm not yours anymore either." She stood there for a long moment, like she was waiting for me to take it back. I didn't. When she finally left, I stayed by the window, watching her walk down the street. Her shoulders were hunched, her steps slow, the look of someone realizing too late that the door they slammed behind them had locked from the inside. That night, Evan sent an email. "I need to talk. Urgent." He'd been skipping shifts, missing deadlines, pushing people away. And now, apparently, he wanted to talk to the man whose life he'd once helped tear apart. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. Everything was unraveling exactly as it was supposed to. I didn't have to ruin them. They were doing that on their own. I agreed to meet him at a small bar near the river, one of those quiet places where people go when they don't want to be seen. Evan was already there when I arrived, hunched over a glass of whiskey like it was the only thing holding him together. He looked nothing like the man I'd first seen commanding a conference room. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair uneven, his eyes bloodshot and restless. When he saw me, he stood up quickly, almost knocking over his drink. "Noah," he said, his voice raw. "Thanks for coming." I nodded, taking the seat across from him. "You said it was urgent." He swallowed hard. "Yeah. Look, I know you don't owe me anything, but I need you to back off. Whatever's happening between us at work, it's killing me." I leaned back. "Is it?" He nodded frantically. "You're setting me up to fail. Everyone can see it. You nitpick, you double-check everything I do, you expect competence." I interrupted. His mouth opened, then closed again. "I'm doing my job," I said calmly. "You should try doing yours." He ran a hand through his hair. "You think I don't know what this is about? You're getting revenge. For Claire." I didn't flinch. "Revenge?" I repeated. "You think you matter that much?" That shut him up. He looked down at the table, voice trembling. "She's falling apart, man. She keeps calling your name in her sleep. She's not over you." I stared at him for a moment, then said quietly, "Neither are you." He frowned. "What? You wanted to beat me. That's all this was. You didn't love her, you loved winning. And now that the scoreboard's flipped, you don't know what to do with yourself." He pushed back from the table, anger flashing in his eyes. "You think you're better than me?" "No," I said, standing slowly. "You think I'm better than you. That's why this hurts so much." I dropped a few bills on the table and started to leave, but he grabbed my arm. His voice cracked. "You're destroying both of us, Noah." I looked down at his hand until he let go. "No, Evan," I said. "You both destroyed yourselves. I just stopped standing in the way." Then I walked out. Outside, the river was dark and still. The night air smelled like rain. I stood by the railing, watching the city lights flicker on the water, and felt nothing but clarity. For the first time since the day Claire told me I'd never be him, I finally believed her. She was right. I wasn't him. I never would be. I'd become something else entirely. The man who didn't need to prove anything anymore. Back at home, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Claire. Please, Noah. Just talk to me. I know now he's not the man I thought he was. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I typed one line, paused, then deleted it. Some words didn't need to be said. Some endings didn't need to be written twice. Tomorrow, she'd see me again, in the office, beside Evan, and that would be enough. The next morning, the office was unusually quiet. You could feel the tension before you even saw it. Word had spread, Evan had missed another critical handoff. The kind of mistake that cost money, trust, and patience. My patience. I called a meeting with the senior team. Claire didn't know about it yet, but she'd soon find out. When Evan walked into the conference room, he looked hollow. No swagger left, just a man trying to hold the last thread of his reputation together. He sat down across from me, eyes darting to the folder on the table. He knew what was inside. Evan, I began, calm and even, we've given you chances. Warnings. Extensions. But the pattern hasn't changed. I'm terminating your contract effective immediately. He just sat there, jaw tight. Then, quietly, he said, she's going to hate you for this. She already does, I said. And she'll live. He didn't argue, didn't fight. He just nodded, signed the paperwork, and left without another word. 2 hours later, Claire showed up at the office. She stormed through the reception area like someone chasing a rumor she didn't want to believe. When she saw me standing by the glass wall, she froze. You fired him? She demanded. I met her eyes, steady and cold. I did my job. Her voice cracked. You did this because of me. No, I said. I did this because of him. You just happened to be watching. For a moment, she didn't speak. The anger in her face flickered, turned to something else. Shame, maybe realization. I thought, maybe we could talk, she said softly. Start again. I took a step closer, not unkindly, but with finality. Claire, you compared me to your past until you lost your future. You said he was the better man. Tears welled in her eyes. I was wrong. I nodded. You're right about that now. But the thing about wrong turns, they still lead you somewhere. Just not back. She tried to smile through the tears. So that's it. That's it, I said simply. You were right all along, Claire. He's your type. And now you get to live with your choice. Her breath hitched. She didn't argue. She just turned and walked away, slower this time, like the weight of her own words was finally catching up to her. When the door shut behind her, I went back to my office, closed the blinds, and sat down. There was no triumph in it, no bitterness, just a clean kind of quiet that only comes when you've said everything that needed to be said. Justice doesn't always arrive with noise. Sometimes it walks in wearing a calm face, carrying the truth you warned people about. She said her ex was a better man. Now he was unemployed, and she was alone. And me? I was finally free. Dear listeners, our story has come to an end. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments.